This is Robert Taylor. Today I'm going to take a look at the Vimberg AMEA speaker. The Vimberg line of speakers are a sister brand of the Tidal audio company, designed and made in Germany. These speakers are designed and engineered and built by the same people who make the far more expensive Tidal components. The Vimberg line of speakers are priced more affordably than the Tidal, and I think the least expensive Tidal speaker currently is the Piano Classic at $32,000. The differences between the brands are the parts in the AMEA are less expensive than the parts in the Tidal, and the cabinet finishes are more costly on the Tidal speakers. The price of the Vimberg AMEA is $20,000 without stands. Now, the Vimberg is a fairly large stand mount speaker, and it's a two-way speaker, and its weight comes in at 19.84 inches high, 9.06 inches wide, and 15.35 inches deep. Each speaker weighs 44 pounds. The speaker's drivers are made by Accuton, and there's a 1-inch ceramic tweeter with a 7-inch ceramic woofer and an 8.5-inch ceramic passive radiator on the back. The speaker can also be purchased with an optional diamond tweeter instead of the ceramic one, but the owners of the current speaker can upgrade to the diamond tweeters if they wish. Now, the tweeter and the mid-range woofer are mounted on an aluminum plate that's decoupled from the rest of the cabinet. The cabinet is constructed of a waterproof high-density fiberboard, and the speaker has a very interesting look with its sculpted front baffle, the sloping top of the cabinet, and the slight lean back to the cabinet. This certainly stands out from the typical rectangular box speakers that you see most of the time. Now, the cabinet is well braced, like when you tap on it, you hear this dull thud. And I think the speaker would look good in a lot of living and family rooms. The speaker is available in the following colors. Gloss white and gloss black are standard colors, but there are also some optional colors. There's a slate gray, a Sonoma orange, amethyst, seawater blue, and the color of the pair of the speakers used in this review are lime green, and these finishes come in a matte sheen. The crossover utilizes parts made by Doolin and Mundorf, so they're really high quality. The speaker's binding posts are something called Argento, and they're molded out of a fiber reinforced polymer that avoids any kind of magnetic interference with the speaker cables plugged into them. The speaker stands used for this review were supplied by a company called Skyland Stands, and the model number is the Sky 4P26. These are priced at $789 a pair, and the stands are shipped in a flat pack, so they have to be assembled. Once assembled, you have a very solid base to place these heavy speakers on. So on to the sound. The overall sound of the speaker is well balanced. I would say it might be a little bit laid back. This is definitely not a speaker that screams, "Listen to me." The passive radiator on the back of the speaker definitely gives you a lot of help with bass extension for such a relatively small cabinet. I did some listening to some test tones through the speaker, and I managed to hear sounds all the way down to 20 hertz. While this wasn't extremely loud, you could clearly hear that the test tones were playing through the speakers. At 25 hertz, the sound became more apparent. The bass is very satisfying out of the speaker this size. The sound is pretty much full range. Some stand mount speakers that I've heard can sound lean and anemic because they don't have good bass extension. and this is not the case with the AMEA. Like I said, while the bass extension is very good in my room at 11 feet wide and 28 feet long, you won't get window rattling bass out of the speaker this size. The bass is quick, detailed, and well defined, and I think the bass will be very satisfying to all but the most hardcore bass heads. I took a listen to the Boz Scaggs song Thanks to You from his album Dig, and with that song you could definitely feel the room shake with the bass on this song. Now moving on to the mid-range, this is a very natural sounding and clean sounding speaker. There is no thickness or heaviness to it. Vocals are very clean and clear. I won't say it's sweet, but it's a very natural sounding speaker. I took a listen to the song I Get a Kick Out of You from the album Ella Fitzgerald Sings the Cole Porter Songbook. Ella's voice, the guitar, and the piano all have a fullness that's very satisfying. Moving on to the highs. The highs are extended and airy, but they never sound harsh or bright. This is my first time ever having a speaker with ceramic tweeters in my system, and I wasn't sure what to expect, but the sound is very natural. There's no zippiness to the top. I took a listen to the hidden track on Sarah McLachlan's Fumbling Toward Ecstasy album. The song is called Possession, and it's at the very end of the album. On the CD, there is no actual track number for it, so you have to just keep playing, and then it just kind of plays through till it gets to the song. There's some sibilance on her voice on this track, and there's kind of a hashiness to the upper end of the sound. On some speakers I've heard this can become very grating, but not with the AMEA. The dynamics on the speaker may be a little better than one would expect out of a speaker this size. On the song Ode to Billy Joe from the album Cafe Blue by Patricia Barber, her voice goes from very soft to very loud in an instant in a few places in this song. The depth of the sound space on the speaker is very good. It can produce a fairly deep sound space with performers well layered inside the sound space. I took a listen to the singer Carrie Kirkland. She does a cover of the Steely Dan song Do It Again on her album Wild is the Wind. Her version basically takes an up-tempo rock song and kind of turns it into a down-tempo slow ballad. Kirkland is dead center between the speakers all the way in the back of the soundstage. The trumpet is slightly behind the singer and the piano is slightly in front of the singer, just behind the front speaker. The guitar player is somewhere between the speaker and the piano in the far left channel. Now the sound space pretty much extends speaker to speaker, but not much beyond the outside edges of the speaker. I took a listen to the album called First Time. Is The Count Meets the Duke. This is an album of two big bands. Duke Ellington's band is in the far right channel and Count Basie's band is in the far left channel. This album is one of those early stereo records that demonstrates a stereo effect with a lot of ping-ponging back and forth between the speakers. Most of the instruments are panned hard left or hard right with very little in the center. There is a bass and piano coming from the center between the speakers, but the big bands are both panned really hard left and really hard right. Now the transparency of the speaker is excellent. Instruments are very natural sounding with a lot of low-level detail. You can easily hear a lot of the spatial cues of recording venues. However, the performers are roughly 3/4 actual size. Height from this speaker tends to be just about the height of the speaker, maybe slightly above and not much above that. One example of this is on Cassandra Wilson's I Can't Stand the Rain from her album Blue Light Till Dawn. Her voice literally is just above the top of the speaker. The guitar player is sitting to her right about where the speaker's woofer is, and you can clearly hear her toe taps as she's singing, but this comes from just to the bottom of the speaker. Now, timbre is very natural sounding and realistic. I found myself listening to a lot of music with reed or woodwind instruments. Now, I found this album by an oboist named Natalie Aluya. I think that's how you say it. I know I'm going to butcher these names, so bear with me. The album is called Syncretismo, and there's a song called El Naranjal. I think that's the way you say it. Like I said, I'm going to butcher these names, so bear with me. But listen to the interplay between the guitar, violin, and oboe. Sounds very natural with the guitar having the right amount of bite on the strings in contrast to the smoothness of the oboe. My conclusion with this speaker is that if you're in the market looking for a nice, high-performing speaker that could be the focal point but not dominate a room, I think this would be a good choice. If you're looking for a really good stand mount speaker for a dedicated listening room, this would be a good choice also. I want to thank you for watching this review. We'll see you on the next one. As always, please subscribe to the YouTube channel and the Absolute Sound magazine for more content like this.